fish catching man. I don't know it's winter. Wow. Pretty nice fish, actually. Got a little bit more color to him. Oh, yeah, I'll get a couple of fillets off him. I believe that's the big fish of the day so far.
They seem to be about midway between us and the end of that dock. If I don't get a good fall right at the right depth, midway through that boat, I don't get a bite.
I noticed if the jig, when you shoot the jig up there, now that time you got him all the way back.
All the way to the back.
But if your jig's landing halfway that distance,
I'm not catching one.
It's falling back, I guess, on this side of the fish.
Even with leaving the slack in your line, you're gonna get some.
And what you're talking about here, Dean, you've got a strike zone up there that's probably,
see, that's it right there.
You got in the sweet spot.
Just what we talked about.
How about that? You've got a strike, so you've got to make the jig land in an area that's just 3 feet long and 2 feet wide, or you're not going to get the bite.
Not going to get a bite.
And you can fish all around it and not get the bite. You're doing good. You're going to feed me a nice fish dinner tonight. Now, Dean, do you find sometimes can you switch sizes? That's a nice one. If you switch sizes of jigs, will it make a difference?
It will make a difference, and I'll tell you, most of the time, we're using 4-pound line.
4 pounds?
I mean, 4-pound test. You go any bigger than a 32nd, the fall is too fast. I mean,
particularly in this cold. If it's warmer,
it might help. But right now, you go to a big jig, and actually, the bigger the jig, the smaller the fish right now.
Right.
It's like the big ones just won't bite it, falling that fast. Every once in a while, a little one will get it.
Let's look at this jig a second, Dean.
All right.
Show people how small it really is. I mean, that is a little bitty.
It's just a little
tiny little jig. Good grief. Nice sharp hook, though. And Dean, you've got 4-pound test here, which is like tying a piece of spider web.
Oh, yeah, you can pop it by pulling it.
What kind of knot do you use? Do you see any difference?
Mac, I used improved clinch knot on it just because with these tiny eyes, that's about all you can tie with it, really.
Right. That is a tiny little fish hook, and that line is so fine.
It is, and an improved clinch seems to do real well.
So just a regular, probably the most commonly used knot by fishermen.
Yes, it is.
All kind, no matter what kind of fish, what kind of tackle. So.
Did you see him tap the line?
Ever so slightly.
You can barely see it.
Well, look where that jig is.
Yeah, he took it deep.
They really are eating the jig. Let's look at this. He got all of that one. And this is a crappie's not like another game, like a bass or a striper. It's got a lot of teeth. But still, with this kind of line, when that happens, probably need to check that out. I mean, that fish couldn't have eaten that jig anymore. So.
And you see that a lot. You got on that slack. He grabs it. You got slack line, and he just eats it.
On Lanier, the average day, 2 guys come out and do this all day. Then what would you say a good average number is?
Our average number is 60.
60 fish?
60 fish.
On a good day, you get 100 and a quarter,
100 and a quarter, and you know, when they're really on, 200 fish days are very common.
There he is. Do you see a size, like, now, you know, these fish are pretty much coming out of a mold. They're all the same size.
All the same one, yeah.
Does that tend to run the course for the day, or you go to a different dock and they may all be this big or even smaller?
Different docks.
But they tend to be the same size under the same dock, I guess.
Same basic size under the same dock, and that changes from day to day.
That was a good shot, Dean. When I was watching your line, that jig is sinking so slowly.
Oh yeah, it's just a slow, you have to have a lot of patience with it. I mean, you can't.
But in cold, that's, so, you know, that's true with a lot of fish. You downsize when we striper fish here. A small bucktail, maybe an 1/8 or a 3/16 as opposed to a 3/4 or something. Same principle.
I missed him.
You miss him? And what's happening, when you missed him, then you pulled that jig enough away that you need to reel in and catch.
Oh yeah.
You pulled it right out of the...
I pulled it right out of the strike zone there.
I think sometimes when the water's warmer, do you ever actually see these fish? Physically see them laying up under there?
Yeah, you can see it. You'll see it's real dark under there, and you can keep this jig up real shallow, like that, but just by kind of hopping it like that,
and what
you'll actually see them flash.
See the fish
and get
eat it.
I mean, they'll get it out of. I mean, it's amazing how shallow they get on those docks sometimes. A lot of times that's what'll be happening. You'll be letting it sink and catching them all of a sudden you don't get any bites. Shoot it in there and just keep it up real shallow, and you'll find then all of a sudden they'll bite it. And there I'm hung. And there's a piece of brush we've been fishing right there.
That's what the attraction is right there.
And
which that happens pretty frequently, I imagine.
yes, it does. And this jig, it happens on a regular basis.
Right.
If you're having to get down there, well, if they're up shallow, you don't have that problem. But these are down some, so we're having to let the jig sink, and we're gonna get near that brush.